All right, so let's talk about AI. There's so much anxiety about AI. Nobody knows what's happening. Is this hype? Is it not hype? Is this going to replace my job? Should I start my own business? What's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now? There's so many questions. There's so much uncertainty. And it's not just affecting employees. I think we are so focused on how it's affecting employees, but it's actually affecting businesses and entrepreneurs as well. If you don't already know, my name is Maureen. I'm an AI engineer, and I'm here to bring some clarity to this whole AI situation. I've worked with companies like Microsoft and other big tech companies. I've also been laid off, so I understand how it feels to be affected by AI and to be feeling like you're being replaced by AI, which is honestly kind of what's happening. So I'm here to bring some clarity and also offer some of my predictions about where things are going to go with AI and how it's going to continue to affect us economically and how it's going to affect the workforce, entrepreneurship, and business. I will start by saying that there is so much uncertainty in AI. So anything that I say in this video is more of an opinion. Nobody, not even the experts, not even the people who created these LLMs and these models can really tell you what's going to happen economically, right? So these will be my own opinions, my own predictions. I don't have any insider knowledge. I'm not inside any of these companies to be able to tell you, but I'll be giving you insights based on my experience building AI agents and building agentic AI systems, which agentic AI systems are basically autonomous agents. So if you wanted to replace an employee, for example, you would build an agentic system that can plan, reason, do the whole workflow kind of on its own, as opposed to just a simple AI agent, which would be something that can just call an LLM and, you can ask it a question or whatever. Yeah. So based off of those experiences, I'm going to give you guys just all my thoughts about everything that's going on. I've been seeing a lot of discussion around AI. I've been seeing a lot of different opinions, and I find it to be a little bit confusing. And I've now decided that I'm going to go down my own research path and, through my own experimentation, share with you guys the insights that I'm seeing. So I was watching this video the other day. There's this podcast, and they were discussing the one skill. It was an economy expert or an economics expert who was in this podcast talking about the number one skill that AI can't replace. And if you watch that video, you'll realize that the skill that they're talking about is judgment. And when I saw this video, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Potentially judgment will be the thing that, can't be replaced. This is the one skill that we should all develop. We should all work on. But I've also listened to podcasts and videos from the godfather of AI. I've seen some of his videos, and he pretty much says AI, it's going to pretty much replace all jobs. He said, if he had a word of advice for somebody who was trying to figure out what to do with their career, he would advise them to go into plumbing, right? Or go into something that's manual labor. And I will give my opinion on that in a minute. I watched an episode I saw a clip of the Joe Rogan podcast where Elon Musk was being interviewed. He was a guest. And what he said was AI is going to replace every job. So you have people who are saying, no, there's still some skills, you can still just learn judgment, learn strategy, learn how to use these tools. You won't be replaceable. And then there's the experts who are like, look, AGI is coming, ASI is coming. We have 5 to 10 years. Things are going to look very different. Become a plumber. It may hold you for a little bit, but robotics is right around the corner. So who knows, right? And I tend to actually agree more with Elon Musk's mindset. I don't think this is just hype, right? People are saying, oh, it's hype. The AI bubble is going to burst. And people are so focused on this bubble popping. I think the bubble is getting inflated. I think the bubble will probably pop, but I don't even care because after it pops, AI development is going to continue to go on and then it's going to come back with a vengeance. And then everybody's going to be out of a job, out of a business again. So I'm not trying to get stuck in this, when will the AI bubble pop thing, right? Because even if you do go, we're never going back. We're never going back to a time before LLMs. We're just not going back. So if you are waiting for the bubble to pop so we can go back to normal, I don't think that's a good thing to do. I don't think that's wise. I think it's wiser to understand where we are, which is why I'm coming to make this video so that I can help you guys understand where we are just from a technical place, at least with the experience that I have playing with these things. So that's my first take, right? So I don't care about the bubble popping. I don't care about, which job is going to be safe for the next 5 years. And then I just need to, because you're going to be after 5 years, what is your option after that? if you live past the next 5 years, unless I know that my life is going to end in the next 5 years and I have a finite amount of time on this earth, I'm not going to make finite decisions based on finite things, right? I have to have an infinite mindset. And I think this is where I want to encourage people to go into. So Elon Musk talks about how, AI is going to replace your jobs. And again, the godfather of AI, he's also kind of like, if I had a word of advice, like get a plumbing job, but he's like, I can't predict the future. Like I can't tell you, but it's pretty much over. Like, it's pretty much over. And I'm not here I feel like I'm like the Grinch who stole Christmas when I say these things. But I think it's important to be honest with people about where we are, because I'm seeing a lot of people, I'm seeing a lot of engineers who have built agentic AI systems. They see what's possible. And yet they're like, these things, they can't really replace what a human does. The code is not even that good. I don't really like that kind of messaging. I think that we need to take AI very seriously. I think we need to take the impact of AI very seriously, right? So these people will say, oh yeah, it doesn't even write code that well, but it's improving. It's literally getting better. It's literally getting better at writing code. And that's just a reality, right? Let's not downplay how far this thing is, how far along it is. And honestly, we don't even know really how far along it is. We don't know what kind of agentic systems, and agentic employees these companies already have. We don't know what's happening internally. We don't know how far this thing has gone. We just don't know, right? They might have already figured out how to replace most jobs. And at this point, they're just playing a game of optimization, playing a game of trying to figure out, details like compute. How do we scale this? How do we not? Like they may already have these AI employees done, which would not actually surprise me as someone who's built agentic AI systems. It wouldn't surprise me if they already have these systems built and they're just trying to figure out how to make it have an ROI. And that's where I think that's where the lack of clarity is. That's what's not clear is, can they justify the ROI? But I do think that as far as them being able to replace a lot of jobs, I feel like unfortunately they're going to be able to. I also see people holding on to this idea of, we're going to, you're always going to need a human to oversee the AI, right? So the jobs are just going to change. The roles are going to change. The demand is going to be different. I don't think the demand, again, here's the issue with that, right? Is playing this game of chasing this moving goalpost. It's how long do you have to figure that out? Can you go a year, 6 months even, with no job, waiting to see where this goalpost lands? This whole figuring out the AI thing, that in and of itself could take 5 years. Where are you going to be in 5 years if you don't have a job? If you don't have a plan, right? So for me, they're saying, it's going to create new roles. There is no certainty about what those roles are going to look like. There is no certainty about whether employees are going to be needed at all. I can imagine that if we manage to automate a lot of these roles and a lot of these workflows, we may need some people to oversee them, but you will have to, the competition is going to be so high. And people, if you're on the job market right now, you already know how high the competition is. You will have to be the creme de la creme to be able to get these roles, right? So do you want to play in this field that's highly competitive, that is going to go to the top 1% employees, right? It's also a matter of just being practical. Even if that's the case, what are they really going to need? What are the gaps? Because AI can do a lot. And some people will say, it's just a pattern recognition tool. Unfortunately, and it is a pattern recognition tool. LLMs really are just a pattern recognition tool. They use statistics and probabilities to be able to predict. They're a prediction tool. But the problem is, when you think about the work that we do on a day-to-day, it's mostly that, right? It can be automated with that, right? If you're writing reports, sending emails, a pattern recognition tool, and we've all probably used ChatGPT at this point, you can kind of see what it can do, right? So it's going to automate a lot. So as far as jobs though, like I said, I tend to agree with Elon, and I think that's the safest way to think about it. I think the safest way to think about it is not to chase this moving goalpost of oh, well, it looks like, my job is out phase. So I'll just learn prompt engineering because I need to, there's prompt engineering jobs everywhere. The problem with these LLMs, the other thing that I want people to understand is these things learn, right? They have the ability to learn. So prompt engineering is being able to direct an LLM to do certain things using natural language. So if you don't know what prompts are, it's kind of like when you're talking with ChatGPT, right? You tell it, hey, help me find this or do whatever. You're prompting the GPT. You're prompting the LLM to do certain things, right? So there's ways to optimize the prompts and there's ways to write the prompts that improve the probability of you getting the answer that you're looking for, right? So that's what prompt engineering really is. So these roles are coming out because, of course, they're trying to build these agentic AI systems. They're trying to, if we can prompt them properly, we can make them behave more like autonomous human beings. We can be able to predict how they're going to behave, be able to get them to, handle entire workflows, all of that, right? That's what prompt engineering is. And people are like, okay, well, I'll just go into that role because that's not going to be outphased. The problem is the LLM is learning how to write these prompts because you're prompting the LLM. So it's learning how you write the prompt. So it's only a matter of time before they create models that are specialized for prompt engineering that know how to prompt LLMs really well and probably better than most humans can. Right? So even when I'm writing prompts today, I sometimes have LLMs optimize the prompt for me. So it's already, even some of these jobs that are coming out that are saying, oh, judgment is not going to be phased out. There's going to be new roles. LLMs are learning how you're judging, how you judge, how humans judge when you interact with it. Again, it's pattern recognition. Judgment is really pattern recognition. Decision making, it's pattern recognition. You make decisions based off of information that based off of, previous things that have happened, based off of history. Like we make decisions based off of other data. So anything that can be done based off of other data, the LLM, as long as it has that data, it's pretty much going to be able to do that. The question about whether quality will go down or not, I think right now in the short term, quality is going to go down because they're still trying to figure out how to optimize these things and how to make these agents work well enough. But the reality is the bar for quality is very low in corporate America. I mean, if you've worked in corporate America, you've worked in these companies, you know that quality is really not a thing that they strive. Like they're not looking for the most optimal solution, right? They're looking for solutions that are satisfactory to the customer that will get them X amount of money. So it's not about, but I can, create, for instance, a good analogy would be art, right? We all have art in our houses that are, not it's not Van Gogh. It's not like, handcrafted, human painted art, right? But there are people who really care about that handcrafted, human painted, but a lot of us don't have that, right? A lot of us are satisfied with our, generic printed art from Target, right? A lot of us are satisfied with that. So it's not a matter of, no, humans can do it better. It's a matter of what is the demand and what is the market demanding as far as quality goes, and will AI be able to deliver that quality? Because if it is able to deliver that quality, then it doesn't really matter whether it's not as good as a human being or not. But I do think it's important to consider where are the strengths that humans have, and how can I create a business or a service that's enticing in that regard, right? Because I will say, when I am on a company website and they have an AI chatbot, I don't think that I'm ever going to prefer that over a company that has human customer service, right? Like there's a company that I've been working on with to establish my business. I love the fact that I can call them and literally get to somebody immediately, right? The customer service and the human element of the customer service is really important. Well, chatbots can answer your questions immediately. It depends on how much human-like they're going to be able to make it to where humans can't even detect the essence, But this brings me to the point of, I think that the businesses that are going to survive in the future are the ones that have the most human contact. And I'm not saying digital businesses are dead, or are cooked, in the long term when the AIs become virtually indistinguishable, but these things are digital, right? Like you're interacting with a computer at the end of the day. our unfair advantage as humans is that we are human, right? Like an AI cannot interact with another human being the way, like we have that essence, and they're trying as much as they can to replicate it digitally. And they'll probably be able to successfully do that or get to a point where it can't even be detected by a human, which is why I think brick and mortar businesses, more in-person businesses are going to be safer in the age of AI. But yeah, so I say all that to say, right? I tend to agree with Elon Musk's take, and I tend to agree with the godfather of AI's take, where it's, you can do something like plumbing in the short term. You can go and do an in-person business. Actually, something like that, because again, it does have that human contact that I'm talking about. So some people may prefer to have a plumber that's human over a plumber that's like a robot, but they also may not. Some people might not even be like, well, I don't really even like interact with my plumber like that, they can just, as long as you fix it. If you create a robot that's going to fix my pipes better, like bring the damn robot. Like, I don't need that, So think about services where like the human contact matters in the quality of the service itself, right? So yeah, so where do we go from here, right? I've kind of hinted a little bit at where I believe we should go and where I plan on going and where I plan on taking things. I believe it's important to have an infinite mindset. The reason why I keep saying that you need to think further into the future, I've noticed a pattern where the most successful companies that stay afloat are thinking literally like 50 years ahead. They're not thinking 5 years ahead from now, right? There are companies that are focused on, oh my God, I'm going to build this like AI SaaS product and AI, and I've made that same, like I'm building an AI SaaS product that I'm like, oh, I'm going to sell this. But then you come to quickly start to realize that actually this is something that ChatGPT is going to be able to put me out of business in its next release. Like it's going to sneeze and I'm out of business, So when you're in entrepreneurship, you really need to think like 50 years ahead of time, right? Amazon, for instance, they didn't stick with their, B2B softwares or like B2B. They went into infrastructure. They went into creating data centers. They were like, what we need to do, and that's where a lot of these big companies have focused on. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they're all doing the data center thing because that data centers are such a dependency for a business. So they're like, we're not going to build you these little softwares. I mean, they still build softwares to an extent because they have a customer base for that. So it's like, whatever. But really where they're focusing on is these data centers. We need to get land. We need to get compute power. We need to, like, these are the things that are going to matter 50 years from now when everybody is running on agentic AI AI employees, when everybody's using LLMs, so those are they're thinking way ahead. They're not trying to build another AI SaaS product. They're not trying to build another AI software. They could do that. But they're like, no, we want to be the infrastructure. We want to be the underlying dependency for every business. We're not going to just give you a business solution. We want to be the dependency for every business. So what do? They're securing the land. They're getting the data centers. Just observing how these businesses are moving and how these really successful companies are moving, they have a very infinite mindset. They're doing the thing that they need to do to secure their future as far as they can see it ahead, right? They're not thinking about, right now, we're looking at like, oh, all these layoffs. Oh my God, this is so bad for the company. And it's like, they're not concerned about that. They're not concerned about laying people off. They're not concerned about talent acquisition because they already know that the future will be an agentic AI workforce. So they're not concerned about that. They're concerned about the compute power that they need to run the AI agents and to be the dependency for every other business. Right? So this is why an infinite mindset is so important. And these are really the only businesses that are not super suffering right now. People are saying, oh, they're losing money because, AI is like expensive. They're investing. They know that they're going to lose money in the short term. But they're not concerned about that because they're 50 years ahead of us. We're thinking 5 years. They're thinking 50 years. They're 50 years ahead of us. They already know where they're going. They already know what they're trying to do here. They already know what kind of experimentation and test they've already prototyped these things probably. Okay. Probably. I can't say for sure. They're 50 years ahead. Like they're not thinking 5 years from now. That's why they're not jumping and, competing with little AI SaaS products. And most importantly, they have the capital to be able to do that. So I kind of went on a ramble and like a tangent, but I hope that all kind of made sense. And I hope it brought some clarity to kind of where I think things are. From developing agentic AI systems, I do think that these things are possible. And I do think that they will probably be able to get them to the standard to a point where it will be able to replace pretty much all the jobs as we know it today. I feel like the Grinch who stole Christmas saying that. I literally feel like it, but I think it's important to be honest because it breaks my heart to see the way people are just chasing this moving goalpost. And that's why I'm coming here to tell you that, like, I don't think it's the best idea. It might work in the short term, and I get it. Like, I'm kind of like trying to figure out if I should chase the goalpost. Should I get a job? I mean, I get it because people have needs. They have bills to pay right now. And I completely empathize with that. And that's why it's like, I'm very particular about who I build AI agents for. Like, I think everybody, if you have the knowledge and the capacity, like, build your own AI agent workforce, like, just do it. Because that's where the future is going anyway. So you might as well just do it and get started. But I'm very particular about building that for companies that are like, we're trying to replace people. Like, I think it's a little bit unethical because we don't really have a plan about how we're going to usher people through this change and into the new world, right? So it feels a little bit messed up to kind of like contribute to those companies and contribute to those efforts because there's just no plan and there's no regulation of how people are going to be ushered out. All I can do and like what I'm trying to do is be able to come here and give you guys some clarity because with the knowledge that I have and my skill set, I'm just trying to like bring some clarity and make some noise and get people to be aware so that they can hopefully go and plan better and also make better decisions, whether it's to get a job with the understanding that it's a short-term thing. So even if you do get a job, like build your business and build it to be defensible in a world of AI. Design it for that. I talk about this on my LinkedIn. So if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, you're welcome to do that. But I'm going to be making videos on how to build defensible businesses, how to build defensible products in the age of AI. I tend to have a pretty good ability to see far into the future and I tend to be a little bit good at that. So I'll be giving my opinions and my takes and my predictions to help you make better decisions. Whether it's going into a job for the short term, just understand that it's probably a short term thing. And if you are going to go start a business, I can, understand what the stakes are, how technology is moving right now, and how these big companies are thinking, and how we need to think when we go into our own small businesses. So I hope that video gave you guys some clarity on where I think AI is going. I'm going to continue to make videos on this, so be sure to subscribe and so that you don't miss any of my updates, predictions, or entrepreneurship content. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.